Hello, my name is Matt Pietrek. I'm WIRSPA's Community Envoy. Welcome to another episode of the WIRSPA Rum Maker Series. In each episode, we will talk to and learn about the people who are making some of the Caribbean's finest rum. My co-host today is Devon, a distiller who's worked with several iconic Grenadian rum distilleries, most recently Renegade Rum. Welcome, Devon.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be on here with you. So just before we jump in here, the Rum Maker series, for those who are not familiar to it, follows on to two prior series that we've done with WIRSPA here. The first one was the Rum Talk, which we started during the pandemic, and we took readers or listeners, viewers behind the scenes at several iconic Caribbean rum distilleries, including Rhum Barbancourt and some of the Grenadian distilleries as well. And then we followed that on with the Icon series, which was where I interviewed some of the most influential people in the Caribbean rum scene who worked in the industry for decades and who helped shape the path of Caribbean rum. All of these episodes, not only the first two series, plus these series, the Rum Maker series, are all available on our YouTube channel, the WIRSPA YouTube channel. With all that said, our guest today is Jean Marc Ewald, who works for Rhum Barbancourt in Haiti. Welcome, Jean Marc. Before we jump into the questions today, just briefly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you currently do at Rhum Barbancourt.
Thank you, Matt. How are you? How are you, Devon? I'm Jean Marc Ewald. I'm an industrial engineer, and I am right now the master distiller at Rhum Barbancourt. But in reality, I work in everything from the moment the sugarcane comes. I'm involved in the milling, pre-fermentation, fermentation process, and the distiller. I'm also part of the panel for cupping and quality management. I'm also head of the quality management lab for the moment.
So let's jump right in. Let's start with the easy questions. Where did you grow up, Jean Marc?
Where I grew up in Haiti, born and raised, except for a quick 5-year-ish stint outside when I went to Canada to study industrial engineering.
Okay, so pretty much through and through Haitian.
Through and through Haitian, with for better and for worse, as I will say.
Was there a rum tradition in your family growing up? And if so, how did you drink rum?
Okay. First of all, drinking rum is as diverse as people, in general. And being a Caribbean family, Haitian family, of course, there was a rum tradition. As far as I can remember, my father was a huge fan of rum, particularly the 8-year-old Rhum Barbancourt. So we enjoyed it. He used to call it the General because of the 5 stars. Okay, so that was his drink of choice. But he was also a great, when you put a rhum arrangé, as they call it in French, okay, cocktails made with bits of fruit in it. And he used to make great rhum arrangé, and for that he usually used the 4-year. So in my family, my mother, my sister, me, the moment I could drink, actually, we were big fans of his cocktails. A little later, I fell in love with 4-year-old Barbancourt with Coca-Cola. Then I started drinking the General, and my my rum of choice. I also have my aunt, who is who is a big fan, who probably thinks that 8-year-old 5-star is the best thing that was ever created on earth. So it all depends on who you ask in the family. A lot of cocktail drinkers, a lot of us were fan of 5-star 8-year-old rum. But I also enjoy the special editions, the 15 years, and other special editions like the Volcanic Cane, etc. And I'm very fond of our white rum right now. And since I'm also a big part of creating the new Haitian proof 55% white rum, I think I'm pretty proud of it. So that would be my relationship.
As you should be. I very much appreciate that, Rem. Love what you're doing with that. So did you always think that you were going to end up with a career in rum, or did you sort of like fall into it somehow?
No, to tell you the truth, I didn't think so. But I quickly realized this was my industry of choice. No. There was nothing that indicated that I would be working at Rhum Barbancourt. But Barbancourt was my first job. Coming out of the university, I started working for a beer maker, but it was more like an internship. And during the internship, I was contacted by Barbancourt and quickly started working with them and enjoyed it since day one.
Towards that point, you mentioned your university education. Did you have any specific training, like what sort of courses did you take that ended up being useful for you once you joined the rum industry?
Well, I'm an industrial engineer, and I like to think that industrial engineers are trained to work in any type of production situation. So not specifically, but I did learn a lot in school to help me with my work here at Barbancourt. But I will also say that I've learned more at Barbancourt and with Barbancourt because they also pushed me getting classes. I'm talking since 2001, basically, 1996, 2001, went to, I've taken classes because of them. So, yes, I was prepared, but they also gave me a lot of input into my education afterwards.
So when Jean Marc, when you actually did get connected to Barbancourt and can you explain
I started in 1996. The first the thing is, I have two stints at Barbancourt. I started in 1996 as a quality technician. That was also a link towards Monsieur Max Gardère and Mr. Thierry Gardère that were responsible for distillery and aging. Okay. At the moment, Monsieur Thierry Gardère was also the CEO of the company. Okay.
How you get connected? Yeah. Applied to Barbancourt for a job, or
No, I did not apply, but I think I was noticed. I was working at the time at the National Beer Manufacturing. Well, not working. I was. It was work, but it was more of an internship. And from there, I was contacted by Mr. Gardère himself and Mr. William Eliassin at the time. And they wanted to know how familiar I was with the making of alcohol and everything. We talked, and then they offered me a job. They needed somebody because there were not enough people in the quality lab. And also, Monsieur Gardère wanted to go further. He wanted to implement a chromatography. He wanted to have a more modernized way of doing things, and with processes written down, with a lot of very pointier, how would I say that, very specific controls on the process itself.
So today you're the master distiller of Barbancourt. I mean, what was your first role? Now? Just give us a brief. How you grew from that into the master distiller.
But basically, I was part of the quality management team. When you are in quality in rum making, you realize three things. Where does a good rum come from? Where does your rum come from? Well, it comes from terroir, what they call terroir in French, which is where your cane is being grown. You have to realize also that since we do produce from freshly pressed sugarcane, it has more of an impact on it than when you use molasses. I think, Devon, you can agree on that with your experience.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is your distillery. Okay, and the third thing is aging. The thing is, we use imported wood, so this is something that's already locked, and we have a lot of lots of land that are very close to the plant itself. So yes, the quality of the sugarcane matters a lot, but those two are in lock-in. So everything that you have to play with is distillery. And being in the quality management department, you do realize that. So you pay attention to it and you realize how distilling will affect the final product and what will go into aging. So you get very interested in it. So you are naturally drawn to go into a position in distillery.
Yeah, I've noticed that when in talking to many master distillers and master blenders, that almost all of them seem to have originated to some sort of quality control background. Has that been your experience? And
Yeah, definitely. Our aging, the people that are in aging and blending right now, they all had very closely worked with quality or directly in quality. Okay, when you take, for example, Roberto Toma, who's in aging and blending right now, he was for some time he was very active. Actually, his office was within the area of quality. So yes, I think that it is only natural that you go that way.
I'm sure in a distillery, I mean, I know in a distillery that you do different things. No two things are the same on a given day as a master distiller. So can you tell us 3 or 4 things that 3 or 4 things that you do on a near daily basis?
Yeah, definitely everything changes every day. And that's your job. You have to apply your skills, knowing when to put more pressure, when to put more temperature, when are you starting to collect your this is what it is. So quality is the entry into distilling and aging and blending.
So what is the most gratifying thing you do on a daily basis? At the end of a work day, today there's 2 or 3 things top of my list that I enjoy.
Let me tell you, every day there are some things that always happen. First of all, there's a meeting. There's the industrial committee that meets every day at an exact time to talk about what happened yesterday, what can be expected in the next couple of days, and what are we doing to change or affect it in the positive manner. This is job one. The second job one is testing what you're distilling all the time. We basically get a sample of our distillery every 15 to 30 minutes because we're injecting, okay? And most of the time we are also smelling and tasting. We do not drink all the time. We have to spit because if you don't, then at a certain moment you will lose control. So we are testing our alcohol all day and all night when we are distilling. Okay, so that would be job 1 and 2 if you want. And then what would be the third one? The third one will be our work. Will be planning with the teams. Who's gonna be there tonight? Who's gonna be there tomorrow morning? At what time? Just figuring it out, and also looking at what we are getting as sugarcane to start planning. Sometimes we have to stop because there are issues with the mill. So yeah, planning is the job number 3, if you would call it like this. This is what I do all day.
I imagine most people think of rum making as this very romantic thing of standing around with nosing glasses, but I'm assuming there's a lot of meetings.
Sometimes they call you in a meeting because this is what we're getting right here. What can we do? What are we going to do? And then you're like, oh no, are we really going to have to taste? You don't want to taste it at that moment. It's not that it's not good, but it's just that at a certain moment you taste buds get saturated. Right now, we're working on that in the sense that we are making a honest to goodness. We are implementing a real cupping room, okay, in terms of color and temperature and everything, trying to make our product as close as possible to, the art of the game, okay, the science and art of the best of the best. Yeah, but sometimes you don't, what would a lot of people think is the funnest part, what is usually presented to people, you can tell by people in winemaking, in spirit making, when you're sending images to the outside, you show people, taking samples of rum or whiskey or whatever, wine, putting in a glass, and they're tasting it, and everybody's happy. Sometimes that part is the hardest part, as you all know. So, yeah, it is something, but it is a job. You have to
right. Right. And my understanding is you're focused primarily on sort of the initial inputs, the cane and fermentation and distillation. How much do you get to participate in sort of what comes after distillation, the aging, blending? How much of that do you get to do?
Oh, I am part of the cupping committee, the tasting panel. So, first of all, because of that, I'm doing the reporting. The results are being compiled and sent through me. So, yes, I am part of it, but I am part of a team. So my voice is one of XYZ, depending on how many people have cupped and tasted this. So I do have an input, but it is one voice.
We hear a lot about on the news and social media and about Haiti's political instability and humanitarian crisis, and so we talk of one Caribbean. We unite ourselves in rum and everything in rum as rum makers, and even your WIRSPA. I mean, there's been good experiences when we meet one another. But how does the political instability and the humanitarian crisis affect you or affect your work? And how do you cope with it or respond to it on a daily basis?
To tell you the truth, it doesn't make it easy. Okay, it makes it very difficult sometimes. And here I would like to thank the dedication of our teams, of our people, and also of management towards keep working and keep producing and producing quality product is the main responsible for us being able to keep on producing. Okay, sometimes it's very hard to get all our KPIs met in terms of quantity. But for now, we are managing. It's not always 100%. Sometimes it's 89%, 93%. Sometimes also we realize that we have to rush things to get more done today because we don't know what tomorrow is going to be made of. And in that sense, I think that management has put in all the efforts towards letting us do our job. And since we have a very dedicated team, you have to realize the power, the weight of a brand like Barbancourt in Haiti. So a lot of people that work here, they're very dedicated towards it. The company itself is iconic and well known. And the area where we are, there's we've put in a lot into that community. There's the Fondation Barbancourt that works with kids in sports initiatives and schools and training them. Well, a general clinic, but also very dedicated for women's health and youth. And we give a lot of support in that sense. Centers for kids to in that area to be able to study and play. And this is what gives us a lot of support from the community. It's not that they're going out there and fighting for us, but they will provide a lot of information and also a lot of protection. So I think that's what we've been able to accomplish so far. Okay?
Yeah.
A well-known company, well-respected brand, working with the community around them, and also with management, giving all the support and a team that's very dedicated. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, it's from everything I can see, it looks amazing what the company, what Barbancourt is doing for the community around it. Is towards that point, is there anything you feel like people don't really know about would find surprising about Barbancourt's distillery or any of its rums? Any sort of like, by the way, did you know kind of things about Barbancourt?
Well, it's the oldest company in the privately owned company of the country. It is one of the oldest still working rum distilleries in the world. We got our first medal in Amsterdam in 1882. So that's more than 100 years ago. It is part of the National Registry for Cultural Heritage. We use the sugarcane from basically 3,000 farmers, and we do produce our own sugarcane. So that's a lot of lives that we're affecting. There's a statistic in Haiti which says that every person that you employ or you make business with actually supports 7 other people. Okay? So technically, does that mean that we directly affect 21,000 other people outside of our own employees here? I'm proud of the fact that Graham Greene mentions Barbancourt in one of his better-known novels. You know, Barbancourt is a well-respected company, so because of that, we are kind of proud, if not proudish. I don't know if that word exists. So yeah, those are things that people need to know.
So yes, from that point of view, but in terms of the process itself, what makes Barbancourt rum making different from other rum makers? What would you say?
The sugarcane. We make our rum directly from sugarcane juice. What else can I say? The variety of sugarcane that we use is Haiti. It's a hybrid that was born of all the sugarcanes that were blended, and that naturally comes out. It's called the Madame Meuse. Okay, it's a particular strand that has a particular taste and odor. So yeah. What else can be said? It is French heritage. So the way we distill and the way we age in French oak, all of that. This is what people should know about Barbancourt. It's Caribbean and French influenced, and in the process.
Good. So what are some of the things that you in particular as a master distiller, or even while you work in process in quality control, have done at Barbancourt that you will say you're particularly proud of? You mentioned a bit about making the 55% white rum. What other than that? What other things you think?
White rum? I think that Matt will understand and agree. And I think you've seen how proud I was. Listen, I'm not going to lie. It was not my idea. It was actually the idea of Delphine Gauder, the daughter of Thierry Gauder, who's right now the CEO. She had an idea. She said, why don't we make a 55% overproof? She didn't mention directly 55%. And we should make maybe a overproof white rum. And I said, no, I was against it from the beginning. And when we tasted what was coming out, and I realized that she was right. But reproducing that same experience every day, that's a challenge, and I'm really proud of my work in that sense.
I'll throw in sort of an interesting side question to that is it's made from fresh cane juice, and oftentimes people who are coming into the rum community will say, oh, well, it's cane juice, it's a rum agricole. And from my perspective, it is very different from the Martinique, the Guadeloupe, the AOC, those types of French rum agricoles. But you're a different thing. Can you share sort of that distinction and why Barbancourt goes that direction versus obviously their own rum, but they sort of tries to do something different than what you would find on Martinique or Guadeloupe or Reunion, for example?
Well, first of all, as you say, is an AOP, So basically, it has to come from certain territories. So first of all, we cannot claim the agricole appellation because of that. There are differences also in our distilling method. Okay, we use a sort of an hybrid column, but so we're not directly using what the appellation, the agricole appellation.
The Creole column. You're not a straight Creole column, right?
Exactly. Okay. So that's the difference. It doesn't just take the agricole rum is not just a product of the sugarcane being freshly produced. We also do not use, and that I don't know if it's common with the agricole appellation or different, but we use very short fermentation period. We quickly ferment. Okay, we also quickly cut in mill the sugarcane because we do not, we don't want too much of an overload of very chemically taste. We want something that you've tasted the rum. You know what I'm talking about. What we're looking for, and listen, some people might want something that's more funky, quote unquote. Okay, but this is not what we're looking for. You have to realize that our first market is the Haitian market, not just in Haiti, but Haitians abroad. We have huge communities in the United States, in Europe, in the Caribbean, South America, etc. And they want Barbancourt, and they want a rum that has a particular inclination. So because of that, we are not working towards getting an agricole appellation. We are working towards getting.
Devon, I think you had a question for him in there.
Yeah, I was asking, your fermentation time, you use very short fermentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have experience with freshly sugarcane juice. And the short fermentation is also favorable as it allows you to avoid any wild yeast. Because sugarcane juice is really easily contaminated, and you have to treat it quick so that you could ferment and get any foreign or wild yeast coming, because you will not get consistency. You mentioned earlier about terroir and different regions where the sugarcane come from. Have you noticed notable differences in the quality of the rum based on the terroir or the region it comes from? Or you don't pay much attention to that in terms of?
First of all, we get most of our sugarcane, if not all of all of our sugarcane come from a geographical region that's around the center of the country, around the west. I don't know if you have a map with you, but they all come from that area. So we do not have much experience with that. But to tell you the truth, I've been implementing a code on the juices that also translates into the code for suivi. How would I say? For that basically will link the alcohol to the area where the sugarcane was produced. Okay? And with that, I think in a couple of years, we'll have enough data to start noticing some differences. There's only one problem with it, is that sometimes some areas do not give enough yield, or maybe particular year, that area will not. So because of that, it is a study that will have to take a lot of time to get the results that we would want. But for the moment, we're just gathering data.
All right. Yeah, and Devon, I think your team has some experience with that in Grenada.
Yeah.
Some extreme. Yeah. Can you share a tiny bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, sure, we have experience with that, as Matt said. That's a philosophy of the production of renegade rum. It's terroir driven, and we have sugarcane plant along the east coast from the north of the island to the south. We have found notable differences in the flavor profile of the distillate, keeping the fermentation and constant, the distillation parameters constant, and with the only variable being the region where the sugarcane is grown, and there are notable differences in it. And so we concluded that Tewa actually have
Oh no,
part in rum production and rum profiling. I mean, it was known in the wine industry and it was proven in the wine industry, but I think it is. I know because I've been part of the project that it is. It also exists in the spirits in the rum spirits industry also.
well, certainly, terroir plays. I think the terroir plays a lot. But like I mentioned in the beginning of the interview, we come from a very controlled area, which also limits the diversion of what we're trying to do. That doesn't mean that accident doesn't happen. Yeah, we've had some experience, some bad fermentation, bad distillation, etc. The thing is, we try to limit that as much as possible using a variety of sugarcane coming from an area of La Plaine du Sac, which is actually huge. So because of that, we can get enough product from that area to limit variations.
So that's an interesting point here. Sort of leading into my next question, which is, rum has a very long history, 300, 400 years, depending on how far back you want to count, and we've certainly
162 years.
Yeah.
We like to think that rum started with us.
That's true. That's fair, yes. But there's been centuries of rum making tradition and techniques and knowledge has been learned. We go back to the early rums of the 1650s. We've learned so much more since then. And now rum makers talk about we've heritage of rum, and we've done things the way we've done for hundreds of years. But I want to flip that. Like, what about modern things? Is there any sort of modern technologies or modern techniques that you are particularly excited about that, have come to rum? Share something about that.
Yeah, certainly. First of all, the house was built on craftsmanship and how would I say, traditions. So we cannot divert too much from that. But as you can see, for the past 2 or 3 years, we've been coming out with special editions and trying them out on the market to see what they're doing. So the first thing we're doing is we're toying with aging and finishing. That will be the first thing. The second thing is in distillation also. I think we are learning a lot from our past experiences and we're applying right. And I think we're getting more of the results that we want. And I've been talking to some distillers from Europe particularly and from Canada, and we've been learning about metals that can take away some of the things that we don't want into the final product. I'm not gonna go much because this is our own studies. But we are learning a lot, and I think in the next couple of years, or maybe before a decade, I think that we will have implemented new techniques and new things that will help us get more of what we want from in distillery. Probably also we can affect the way right now we have new people working into the production of sugarcane. And I think we're getting better yields and at the same time getting sugarcane that is as good, if not better. So with all that, yeah, definitely we are looking towards the future while keeping our traditions and our product the same.
Well, you mentioned consulting with other distilleries out of Europe and Canada, and so we know that WIRSPA itself is a very close-knitted group where we share a lot of information with each other and so on. How is the experience with consulting with other distilleries or other rum makers outside of Barbancourt in terms of to help?
First of all, we have not just been talking about rum distillers. We are talking about distillers in general. There are some exchanges. There are some exchanges, and there are some things that we've done in the past, creating limited editions in aging. Okay, I don't think I'm ready to talk about specifics, but yes, we've been talking about with other distilleries, with other rum distilleries and manufacturers. Okay, sometimes with people that are strictly into aging. And I think that there are some products that will be coming out soon. And at that moment, we'll be revealing more or maybe even less than I am revealing right now. Because I don't feel free talking about it right now.
But, okay.
Along with that question, it's often said, people often say, like, I stand on the shoulder of giants. The rum industry has a long history of people learning from the people who came before them. Are there any rum makers who you particularly admire their work, who have been particularly influential to you, both within the company as well as outside of the company?
Well, I haven't worked much with the person I will say that influenced me and that amazed me the most was Thierry Gaudet. Thierry Gaudet had a palate and a nose like nobody else I had met. And he had a knowledge of his product that was extraordinary. So if there's one person I would say that I admire, it would be him. Listen, I've read your book, Matt. Well, at least part of it, because nobody can claim to have read that book in its entirety. But I admire your knowledge of the field. Met some people that works in other spirits than rum. Yes, but I would say the person that stands out, it would be Thierry Gaudet. It is part of the Barbancourt tradition. Yeah, it is part of the Barbancourt family. But definitely that would be the person I would mention unequivocally. I can also talk about Max Gaudet, who was Thierry's uncle. But I think Thierry affected my vision of it the most.
But outside of the white rum, which should continuously say is your favorite. What is your second favorite Barbancourt expression?
Outside the white rum, it would be the 8-year-old.
8-year-old.
That's going to get me into a heap of trouble here because I know some people who are 3 stars. That's 4 years old. And some people say there's nothing less than 15 years that crossed my lips. Yeah, right. Me, I think it would be definitely every Sunday I have a glass or 2, or, well, when I'm in Haiti, that is, of the 8 years old. Because that's my, okay, I'm cooking, I'm having fun with myself, with my creativity at home. And that's usually when I have some 5 stars. And I've discovered that the 15 years makes an excellent old-fashioned, and I've become a fan of the 15 years. For that, I always liked it, but I'm starting to pay a lot more attention to it. But definitely, yeah, 8-year-old rum.
Why?
It tastes. I know my rum to be so suave, so smooth that I don't feel it, but I like the sweetness, the wood, and the vanilla undernote in the 8 years old. So yeah, it doesn't lose its personality. If it's very hot, let's say in the summer, I will put a cube of an ice cube in it. So it doesn't lose it. It keeps its personality better, I think, than the others. But then again,
when we meet, we'll have some 8-year-old.
Definitely, we'll need to have.
Yeah. And I'll say this sort of speaks to sort of my own journey through rum. It's when I first got into it, it's like, oh, let's get the oldest rums. Oldest must be better. And the more I learn, the more I'm like, there can be a great balance between the source material flavors and the fermentation created flavors and what the wood brings to the equation. But, and sometimes it's fun, like you said, with the Haitian proof, taste all those fermentation flavors, but sometimes you want a nice balance there. And
yeah,
so
they can be very overwhelming also.
Yeah.
They can be very overwhelming. So white rum, it goes great, not only alone. First of all, to me, it's one of the rare white sipping rums. Okay? Unequivocally, this is something extraordinary. To me, I've tasted a lot of white rums that lack body or very neutral, or some of them, they just have too much body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? To me, it's a great balance. But even our own white rum, you have to realize that I will have a sip or two, I will have a glass or two, and then I'm going to stop. Because you get, it overpowers you. Meanwhile, the 5 stars, the 8 years old, it stays with you. And it has a very long finish. And yeah, I think that's why I like it the most.
Jean Marc, thank you for sharing your story with us today. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I don't know. I would say that Barbancourt, it's been a trip voyage. I've learned so much from that company. I've made some great friends, and from my 2 stints, my 2 periods when I worked at Barbancourt, the first one was maybe to show me that it was a great place to work. And then the second one is to work as hard as possible to make the tradition keep the traditions going. So because of that, I would like to share my experience with everybody in the world and make them realize how beautiful of a product that we have coming from a country where things are not that easy sometimes, But if something like Barbancourt can come out of Haiti, I think that also means that Haiti has a capacity to produce beautiful things, to be a great nation. So this is what I would want to share with the rest of the world and with all my Haitian friends and all Haiti in general.
Well, thank you again, Jean Marc. And Devon, a pleasure to co-host this with you.
Okay.
Thank you, Devon. Thank you, Matt. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I'm open to any questions. And anytime you want to do another series, I'm open.
You're there. Yeah. Well, I will get this interview edited quickly and up on YouTube as soon as possible, so people can ask you those questions. So again, thank you very much. And we shall sign off for now. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.